welcome to The Apprentice, You're Fired, for our second episode of this bumper week. Now 14 candidates are left to battle out for Lord Sugar's £250,000 business investment. Tonight, with the help of unseen footage, we'll be watching how the team's dynamics are evolving. For example, here's a good business lesson. It's important when your colleagues have had a setback that you should think of the best way to reassure them.
Hello, hello, how are you doing?
Not too bad. We're headed towards Richmond.
What have you sold, mate? How many casks?
Cars we've done 1.5.
Excellent.
Sometimes, the longer you take to think of a response, the more comfort you can give.
I'm surprised they've even turned up.
That was inevitable, mate.
Now to our panel tonight, the co-founder of Brew Dog, James Watt, broadcaster Sara Cox and comedian Ed Byrne. Welcome to You're Fired. Tonight's task of producing a new flavoured beer left one candidate feeling uncharacteristically flat.
Tim, your business plan was something to do with drinks. So I give you the job of being the project manager and you make a mess. I got nowhere else to go here. Tim, you're fired.
Thank you, Lord Sugar.
Please welcome Tim Stillwell. Tim, you know, that's a huge cheer for someone who's only been on for 2 weeks. People really like you. People were, I think, disappointed to see you go. People think the way you bob around is really interesting and exciting. Yeah, were you disappointed?
I was very disappointed. You know, went on the show to try and raise money to expand the business. It didn't work out. But hopefully, you know, most good business people have a failure somewhere. Hopefully this is my failure.
Yeah, public failure.
Public failure.
Something like that. Most businessmen get them, you know, they don't make a big thing of it. Don't broadcast. They don't have a 30-minute chat show to dissect why their failure was such a failure. Yeah. Let's see what lessons we can learn from this one as you move on with your life, scarred by the memory. And was there anything that jumps out immediately as being obvious that you could have done differently?
Most of it, really, yeah. Pretty much. A lot of it, yeah, most of it, to be fair. OK, well, we'll go through it piece by piece, and we've got experts with it as well. You were parachuted in to lead the girls' team, but I'm afraid you had a crash landing.
Tim, I'm wondering, really, whether you did lead the team. One of these other people kind of walked over you.
I want to target the female market, something healthy. Is everyone sort of agree with that? No. Or, no, OK. I know this could look weird. I'm going to overrule my own decision. So do you know what I mean? Like, I made a rash decision before.
So where'd you end up, then?
We go for a beer festival.
We ended up at the Kent Beer Festival.
Which actually turned out to be a glorified pub.
Yeah. So this is the Kent Beer Festival.
Where is everyone?
You're all a bloody waste of space.
When we...
Can we stop with this we? Is it we or is it you?
It's we, we're a team, we're a team.
If ever in my life I've come across a team who literally couldn't organise a piss-up in a brewery, it's now.
Where to begin? Let's start with your decision to overrule yourself. Did you take it badly? Or did you bounce back? And were you able to work with yourself later in the task?
Yeah.
That's great. Do you think it was a good idea, the initial idea? It was for a beer for women?
It wasn't. It was a terrible idea. Like, to start with, it wasn't the best way to start my role as project manager of the girls. I thought, I'm on the girls' team, let's do a project, let's do a product which, you know, we can give to girls, like, it might help, blah, blah, blah. The wrong decision. Just because there are
loads of women around you?
Yeah, that's what I thought, do you know what I mean?
The women are like, ah...
Yeah, exactly. It was sort of one of those things, when I was told you're moved over to the women's team, I was just sort of like, I didn't even know their names, you know what I mean? We really had that little interaction with them. So it was, yeah, it was thrown at the deep end, but... Yeah.
But much like failures in your career, it's good to get those bad decisions out of the way
early.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. James, I mean, a beer marketed specifically for women, has that ever worked in the industry? Has that been
There's been a few in the past, and the only things that they've managed to do is somehow simultaneously patronise women and bastardise beer at the same time. So, they've usually been a disaster, and I think the focus is in doing something awesome, and if women like it, if guys like it, that's good, but I think the focus is in doing something you believe in, something you're passionate about, and something that's got integrity.
So you wouldn't be particularly excited by a beer that was specifically aimed at women?
No, I think that's right, James. You just feel a bit like, oh, good.
Goody.
Oh, it's got swirly writing on the label. That's for me. And then we'll all settle down and talk about our periods whilst we can have a special beer that's just for us girls.
Well, the funniest thing we were doing was sort of like beer targeted for women, so it was going to be healthy and it was going to be all these things, you know what I mean, which were just completely off the wall. Just it was one of those brainstorming things, which is meant to be more like a brainstorm, but when you're there with like trying to come across well, like trying to do the task, you sort of say, right, my decision is I am very authoritative and I make decisions, and you know it is.
I like the way the girls just went, no.
Exactly.
Yeah. The product you went for in the end, rhubarb and riches. Were you fully behind that as an idea?
Yeah, I suppose you're given a very short amount of time to come up with this new thing. It has to be unique, has to be something not on the market. You know, so this one wasn't on the market. There arguably could be a reason that this product's not currently on the market. But to be fair, we did actually get really good customer reviews. Like, people liked it. It took a lot of work and a lot of stress to actually make it, but, you know, people did like it, which was great.
Just looking at the name and the branding, what do you think? It's quite classy looking. It looks quite impressive.
Yeah, I thought the packaging was good. I like the fact that you guys had pump clips. The other team didn't have pump clips. I thought the name, the packaging was good.
Do you have to go gimmicky with the brand new product to market?
I hate gimmicky names, so I liked you guys' names so much more than the other team's name. I mean, for me, a cheap, tacky pun is just the worst way to launch anything, so a bit of this I didn't like at all, so I thought in terms of packaging, you guys nailed it.
Unfortunately, we don't have any more of the beer left for people to taste. That's the problem with it. I mean, you said it was nice? Did you taste it?
It was very good, I think, yeah.
It's very difficult to recreate it. I mean, obviously, we can just get rhubarb and this is caramel.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to try it?
I've been waiting a long time to see Dara O'Brien do that with a stick of rhubarb.
Divine. Jesus.
Nice.
The caramel...
It was better than that.
The caramel is really strong, but then the rhubarb wins.
All you need now is a pint of beer and you'll be sorted.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Even outside the Kent Beer Festival, when you pitched the idea and you said we're selling a new beer, it's rhubarb and caramel flavoured, people moaned and then they laughed. And, I mean, you've got to really go some to look daft in front of a bunch of Morris stands.
And in fact, I mean, we just only a little bit of rhubarb and a little bit of caramel. If Francesca had her way, she would have made the most rhubarb and caramel flavoured beer in history.
Who's the mathematician here?
Yeah, Francesca was doing the maths.
I'm not a mathematician. 6.5 at 75%. Does that make sense?
That's wrong, that's wrong. Oh, dear.
This is simple multiplication, isn't it? It is not rocket science.
I'm really, really sorry. I'm just...
Kids,
my brain's confused with litres and grams and stuff. Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Guys, this is not safe to drink.
You ditched 90 litres of stuff, didn't you?
How many millilitres has been added to that keg of the bottle?
100.
Right, there's far too much in there, then.
I've never seen anything like it.
Francesca, you got your numbers wrong. This was a disaster.
We're going down and the ship is sinking fast.
Because it's really the way that task got bumped onto Francesca's back as clearly as it did. There was a lot of people washing their hands of that situation immediately.
Yeah, it was very funny because, like, in the taxi, in the people carrier to get there, we were doing such complicated maths. We were working out, right, if we use a cheaper beer and the cheaper ingredients, we can produce more and make more money. We had all these sums. We had like a page of just numbers and numbers and numbers. And then when it came to the really simple stuff of how much flavouring do we put in the beer to make it safe to drink, we just completely, our heads were in a spin and we couldn't work out grams to millilitres, and just going around in circles.
It seemed like she was really struggling, and instead of everybody getting involved, like you said, they all just kind of stood back and went, oh, OK, she's struggling.
I mean, were they in danger, by the way, if you put in too much of those flavourings? Is there...?
Yeah, if you use too much of certain things in beer, depending on the compounds they have in them, they could kind of make someone quite sick or quite ill, so it's very important if you're doing anything that's going to be consumed by the public. It make sure it's safe first and foremost.
Because what we don't want is the public drinking beer and then being sick.
We thought, really, at the end, that the girls would go for you in the boardroom.
I thought I was going to get destroyed in that boardroom. Like,
yes.
But it was OK.
Yeah, it was OK. Because you were the one they went for, and so they turned on one of their own.
Who's responsible for the failure of this task?
I think it's down to location, Lord Sugar. Whose idea was it to get the Kent Beer Festival?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Who made that decision? Who made that decision?
Who made that decision?
Who made it?
Who made the decision to...
Who suggested it?
I feel the blame's being pinned up myself. It's definitely an alliance. I know you're all in cahoots.
We're all in cahoots.
Four of you are, yes.
The location was wrong. You made the decision. You
take a little bit of responsibility for it.
I've never seen such a bloody mess in the first 2 weeks of this process as what I've seen today.
So when you saw that happening, did you just sit back and go, OK, grand, let Rebecca take the grief for this? Because they're
a great bunch of girls. Like, I know, do you know what I mean? Like, they are very forthright with their opinion. They do go, but they are actually a very genuine, nice bunch of girls. So it was quite nice to see them rallying, and I was just sort of trying to keep out of it because a lot of them were fighting my corner for me, which was quite nice, and I didn't feel they needed to do it. But there seemed to be this alliance of, right, let's not let Tim take the blame, let's let someone else. And I thought, if I get in, it's going to seem like, you know, I'm ganging up. So by keeping quiet, I thought, actually, it could work to my advantage, which it didn't.
No, it actually didn't.
No, it didn't.
Do you not think if you'd brought in, just because they hate each other so much, Rebecca and Uzma, like, they've been at it from the word go. If you'd brought in Uzma instead, and then just let Rebecca... In fact, and on the way in, if you'd just gone, she says you've got fat ankles. And just let them go at each other, then he might have ended up firing one of them.
Because then, you know, Lord Sugar would have gone, why did you bring in Uzma? And you went, because I just wanted to see this crazy thing go down here. Like,
what if it just you and Lord Sugar just looking at each other across the table going...
Oh, yeah. What are you going to do? Oh. Ultimately, it was the locations that did it.
It was. It was, you know, Kent Beer Festival sounded amazing. We're like, what's the population of Kent?
I did think they sold quite well, though, to a few people, to the men of the Kent.
The girls were great at selling.
Because, basically, they were the only females in, like, a 10-mile radius. All those men, sort of middle-aged, balding men, no offence to anybody here...
None taken.
We're doing OK.
They were so bedazzled. They were like, here's our money, can we touch your hair? Because these girls were like, do you want some beer? And they were like, woo!
What do you think of the treatment of Rebecca? And Rebecca is the best salesperson they have.
Yeah, I quite feel for Rebecca, actually. I think she seems to wind up the other girls for whatever reason. Maybe because she does this a lot. That might be it, because that can proper wind up a girl.
Last week, however, she was one of the best sellers amongst all of the candidates. This week, she came with the top trade sales. So it's difficult. What exactly is that really just gets in their faces about her?
Rebecca likes to stick her hand in people's faces and her finger in my face on this occasion.
£75.
Could we go for this? Can I? Sorry.
It's not personal. This is business.
It is personal.
We're in a boardroom. This is business. Well, why are you pointing your finger at me? Do you not think that's anyone?
A food festival, you don't have any
finish. I'll tell you what, Tim. No. Not everybody. Let me have a word. I want to say something. I pointed at it.
Is it as little as that? Is it as little as a habit of getting inside somebody's space?
Well, I think because Lord Sugar's allowed to be the only one to do the finger thing, and so I think that must have been annoying.
Tim, I'm genuinely sorry that you went in week 2, because I wanted to see if, well, not just for any business reasons, I just wanted to see if you could keep this up for 12 weeks.
I have been described as a bit of a whirlwind. I do have bags of energy. I've got very high energy levels. I don't really ever get tired. I like to keep going, keep plugging away. Finally sold some product. Absolutely great. I thought my chance wasn't going to come this task. I thought I'd leave it in the background. It's always someone else's turn to pitch. So arms and legs everywhere, getting involved. Just start rattling off anything. Sometimes I act before I think, bouncing around, are we getting involved? Confused, we were trying to work it out. It was an absolute roller coaster, people shouting. That really flustered us. And sometimes my energy has to be reined in and controlled. I'm bursting with it. I need it to be harnessed.
Would you have hit like week 7 and needed sleepy time for Tim? Does it plunge? Does it go bang, 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 and then just stop and then you're out? Like?
No, it's pretty consistent. I mean, there would have been a lot more energy had I stayed more. So it would have continued. It definitely would have continued.
Candidates often compare themselves to famous figures, famous historical characters. Sometimes it's more unusual than others.
The historical character I'm most like is Richard the Lionheart.
I see myself as a mixture of Marilyn Monroe and Joan of Arc.
If I was to describe myself as a historical figure, does Tigger count? Yeah.
Well, let me answer that quickly. No. Those books didn't actually happen. They're historical. So you've heard the Tigger thing a lot, I presume.
Yeah, I have. I've been told that from an early age.
Let us find out now what Lord Sugar and your former colleagues have to say about you.
Tim wants to start a drinks business, and this task was all about drinks. However, by allowing everyone a say, he lost control and he made the wrong decisions.
I think Tim's a really nice guy. I think there's been times he has been a wee bit flustered.
Tim wasn't very confident in giving his decisions.
He did fall apart when we went to the factory, but I just think he fell out of his depth.
Tim has loads of energy and enthusiasm, but he needs to channel it in the right direction to make sure he doesn't make mistakes that cost a lot of money, and that's why I fired him.
He fired you so that you will learn. When we say there was a drinks company you were setting up, it wasn't an alcoholic drink company, was it?
No, it wasn't. No.
What was the idea?
It's to launch a new range of Mexican fruit drinks.
Pre-existing Mexican drink you're bringing over, or are you inventing?
Inventing. We're inventing one. Like, you know, I lived in Mexico for 12 months. I learned all about the culture, so I feel there's a part of Mexico in me. So if you want an authentic experience, then.
Fantastic. You were a brewer as a hobby?
Yeah, it was myself and my best friend Martin. We couldn't find any beers that we liked in the UK, so we used to spend our weekends making beer at home. And back in 2007, we got a £20,000 bank loan. We got some second-hand stainless steel tanks, and we set up our business. And from 2007, in 5.5 years, we've now grown to a business that employs 200 people and ships our beer to 38 different countries around the planet. So from 2 humans and a dog, we've come a long way.
You blagged the loan originally, though, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we got a deal with Tesco just after we started, so I was quite excited, and I went to our bank, and at that time, the global economy just nosedived. It was a credit crunch, and I told our bank at the time, we've just got this amazing deal with Tesco, but I'm going to need £100,000 for a new bottling machine. I'm going to need £50,000 for new fermentation tanks, and the bank just laughed at me. And so what we did, and we had our suits on, we looked quite smart. We went to the bank next door and we said to the guys there, our bank have just offered us an amazing finance package on a bottling line and fermentation tanks, but if you guys can match it, we'll shift all our banking to you. We've got this amazing contract. We're a young up-and-coming company, and they went for it, so...
I went to the bank and I said, I've got a great business idea. Here's my 50-page business plan. I need £70,000. And they just sort of said, like, see you later, do you know what I mean? But we've made it work through, you know, here, there and everywhere. And, like, as you say, like, these businesses are employing people. So we sort of do need, you know, the banks to change their attitude and actually start funding, like, what they think are crazy ideas, because some of them pull through.
OK. Now, at the start of a new series of The Apprentice, it is always difficult to get to know all the candidates. I mean, there's so many of them. So YouTube music superstars, the Brett Domino Trio, have joined forces with Radio 1 to help.
We've got the posh one, we've got the ditzy one, we've got the moving his hands about like Miss Piggy one. There's a Welsh one, Northern Irish one, the token geezer, and these 2 lads who look like they should be in Weezer. Apprentice, they go to business, you're senseless. It's the new series, yeah, it's starting again. But Sugar's looking for a candidate he wants to invest in. £250,000 for the one who's most impressed him.
You can see the full version of this on our website at bbc.co.uk/apprentice. Let's take a look at the winning team now. And although Kurt was project manager, you often wouldn't have known that.
I've come up with absolutely everything in terms of this task.
I've come up with all the ideas today. I've come up with pretty much everything. I came up with the product, I came up with the flavourings, I came up with the flavouring, I came up with a little unique twist about getting chocolate. That little bit of a twist, the twist of taking the chocolate. I've come up with a sales process. I went out and did the majority of sales. I came up with the branding name, I came up with a name, I came up with a name.
A bit of this?
A bit of this, my idea, again.
I came up with that personally.
Is the idea that if you drink enough of this, that name becomes funny, or what?
Behind every great project manager, there's a Neil Clough. There's a Neil Clough.
Who is that guy? He's very much regarded as the alpha male of the group. Are you enjoying Neil's work?
He's kind of like a bit, looks like sort of Danny Dyer's snarkier younger brother, mixed in with a bit of Norris from Corrie and a bit of David Brent, in a nice way.
Was Neil comes across? I mean, you could regard as being quite Machiavellian, not taking the credit for himself, like whatever. How is he?
Yeah, it is hard. He wants to be the alpha male. He wants to be the leader. So it is hard to get word in edgeways. You know what I mean? That's not how business works. That's not how life operates. I mean, Neil probably has a great business idea, but he was one of the persons in the series who came in without a business. So I feel he thought he had a lot to prove. So from the day one, he was just hammering. And yeah, you can't get word in edgeways with him.
An interesting one, because I mean, because the things you can take credit for and things you cannot. For example, I mean, much of this is a bit of this here. The again, we don't have for your taste, but thankfully, the unique flavour of a bit of this is actually easily available in an already quite well marketed form. That could work. Chocolate and orange together, it's crazy, isn't it? Try it. You should try it.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, don't just spend the rest of the show eating. Yeah, but it's not that dramatic. The plan, however, of deciding the flavour from the room where they were designing the label, while you've already sent 4 people to go and test the flavour.
It's almost as sensible as sending somebody to sell your beer without taking any of the beer with them.
You know, the genius of it was, they actually thought there might be some left in the bottle, and the guy could go, oh, that could be great.
I do like the way they didn't have any. They went, you can sniff it. And I thought, why don't they just burp? That's just a simple fact. There you go. I mean, you're getting...
Throw a blanket over the 3 of us right now. I'll just try to... Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Are you getting it?
Yes. We'll have 12 barrels,
I'll bring
please.
a bit more, please. To the wonderful Jason we come now, whose approach to a deal seems counterintuitive at best.
Well, me and Zishan were just at the point of closing a deal at £80.
Between £80 and £90 a barrel.
Jason piped up and said, oh, we'll give it to you for 75.
Why would you do that? If...
I didn't.
No, you did.
How about we sweeten it and do 75?
I like it spicy. This guy has not got a clue.
I felt that they lost the plot.
They lost the plot?
Yes, definitely. Alex disgraced you, in fact, Lord Sugar. Really? He was swearing at me.
What are you doing?
It's slightly more complicated than you've realised.
What was more complicated?
Mate, the thing is, we were...
I have been closing deals all my life. Don't tell me it was complicated. The deal was closed. You put it in with no experience, not knowing what you're doing.
It was plain deception, Lord Sugar.
Big pardon? You from the Office of Fair Trading?
You lost us money on this task. You've lost us money and you've once again proved that you're an amateur.
They are the most intolerable, moronic people I have come across in a long time.
Jason is, by trade, he's an academic. He's a man of literature of words. Is he too delicate a flower for this?
I respect his ethics, but I don't think he's cut out for the business world. Because basically, when he's talking about the plain deception, he's talking about, well, we've been doing these for, like, 90... I can't... And he's obviously sitting there going, this is a lie. This is a lie. You're just trying to get this man to pay more than it's worth. You're selling them for 75. You terrible, terrible liar. You know, I mean, it's ethical. It's ethical business, but it's not good business.
Particularly like Z as well, Z's reaction. In a business meeting where one of his colleagues go, we can give it to you for 75, him going, oh, don't listen to him. This guy's an idiot. We bring him along just for the laughs. Hey! 80 quid. Don't listen to a word that man said. Don't listen to old chubby cheeks here. You're the boss's nephew. I don't know why he's here.
It's like bringing your own heckler to a gig.
Shut up. Get back in the box.
Just make it a bit more difficult.
Get back in the box. I don't want to go in the box. Get back in the box. Ridiculous. Do you like Z? Do you think Z's going to be interesting?
Yeah, I think Z's fun. I must say, I do like Jason because I think he's a really good character, so I hope he stays in. And I think Z's going to do well. I think he just needs time to shine a bit more.
What do you think of...
I think Jason is absolutely phenomenal. I still think he should be holding out for nothing less than the next leader of the Conservative Party.
I do think if he wants to go into politics, though, he's going to need to adjust his attitude to telling lies.
Now, we've already enjoyed Alex and his look, but he outdid himself on the trip to Brussels.
This is lovely, isn't it?
The only thing is, I mean, if you stick the music as The Godfather on, anyone can look like The Godfather. If you change the music, it's a very different look.
It's like the changing of the seasons and the tides of the sea. But here's the one was driving me berserk. Why do only fools and horses work?
This is lovely, isn't it?
If I saw him, though, I just want to go, you realise your arms are supposed to go in that bit?
That's why they sewed them on. That's why they're there. Like, you know, if it was properly a cape...
Oh, my God, that's marvellous. It's bloody lovely.
Oh, my arms were always getting cold, and now they're nice and snug and warm. Oh, I never know.
And it was funny the way he called Jason a silly shit. That's the weirdest, you know, insult I've ever heard. It's just a juxtaposition of, like, you silly shit. It's weak, isn't it? It's like, you blummin' bumhole.
Did anyone else strike you?
Well, not so much me, but Ed was rather taken by Miles.
Did you see him wrapping his towel around himself?
He was going, he's so buff. Does he work out? What's his secret?
Is he ex-military?
That was
guy's cut.
He is Miles Mordaunt, the exceptionally ripped businessman.
With his own helicopter pad and all that.
We can't go now. I don't know if he's got his own helicopter pad, but he apparently does live in Monaco as well.
Wow, it's well fancy.
OK, it's time for a vote. James, do you think Lord Sugar made the right decision?
No, I think the mistake that Francesca made with the calculations had such a big impact on the task and how much beer they had to sell, so unfortunately for me it would have been Francesca.
OK, Sarah?
I wouldn't have fired Tim. I think I would have gone for Francesca, maybe.
Ed?
I think Francesca as well, I think.
So again, you wouldn't have fired...
No, I wouldn't.
OK,
Could you not have been Lord Sugar's advisors? I could still be in this process, guys.
You can. Well, let's see what the audience does on this one. Again, if you agree with Lord Sugar, hold up fired. If you disagreed, hold up hired. Hired, you'd still be in the process there. It's definitely hired there. OK. Tim, you have bowled us over this week with just your boyish enthusiasm, your can-do attitude. I mean, just your general bounce. Can you stand up for 1 second? Stand up for... Because we give a gift every week, and I just really, you know, think this one... we felt the only thing we could do would be... Well, I think putting it on might be difficult. That's... Sit down.
Keep it on.
No, I think for continuity we're going to remove it, but thank you. Yes, that's a little gift.
Keep that.
Yeah, oh please, it was a gift. You're supposed to. 2 terrific weeks here. Now that sounds really small, but you have genuinely made a huge impact. Here are your highlights.
The wonderful thing about Tiggers is Tiggers a wonderful thing.
I'm an ambitious, hard-working, gregarious, entrepreneurial graduate. I'm very enthusiastic. Nothing like a glamorous job, is there? Ask anyone who's drunk it. It's absolutely fantastic. You haven't tried it, sir. I am pushing forward. I am thinking big. Your last chance breaks the mould, sort of takes risks. Thank you very much, guys. You can try yours, and then you see if you both want one. Against all odds, we bottled it.
Yeah. We bottled it!
I think all the girls are really upset that he has gone.
Oh, Tim!
We all liked him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Stillwell. And that's it for tonight. Thanks to all of my guests, and there's loads more on our website at bbc.co.uk/apprentice, including Matt Edmondson's awkward conversations with the 2 fired candidates, the Apprentice song, and much more. Next week, it's one of my favourite tasks, product design. Every year, top quality props comedy.
You're tasked to come up with a flat-pack piece of furniture.
I'm in the look good industry.
You're in a time warp.
Women are smaller than men.
You're going to have to design the product.
Oh my God, do you guys know what you're doing?
Whoa, 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 whoa. This is only 400.
I want it to be an ATM machine, plus I want it to be a lawnmower.
I don't even know what it is now.
Poxy boxy.
But don't sit.
I'm not convinced about it. I'd be puzzled and troubled.
Straight out to the skip and throw it away.
Did they buy any?
No.
What is it we're doing?
Bloody clueless.
I honestly cannot recommend this episode enough. We're back to one show a week from now on, so we'll see you next Wednesday. Good night.
Looking in depth at the Queen's speech, Newsnight is coming up next on BBC Two Northern Ireland. Then at 11:20, Spotlight reveals insights into Margaret Thatcher's relationship with Northern Ireland. And from winning an Oscar to masterminding the Olympics opening ceremony, Mark Kermode meets Danny Boyle, Man of Wonder. A culture show special at 11:50.